Okay, so are we set, Terry?
Coming on in 2 seconds. Okay, we are live.
All right, thank you, Terry. Good evening. This is the MSAD11 Policy Committee meeting. Our chair will be along with us shortly. That is Tony Beat. I'm Pat Hopkins, Superintendent of Schools. And why don't we go around? Superintendent of Schools. And why don't we go around? Superintendent of Schools. And okay, thank you, Terry. So why don't we go around and I'll have people introduce themselves. Nicole.
Good evening, I'm Nicole Medor.
Matt.
Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Marshall.
Ange.
Hi, I'm Ange Pitteroff.
Diane. You're muted, Diane.
I'm Diane Potter.
Thank you. Teresa?
Sorry, my whole screen's set up differently tonight. I'm Teresa Garrett.
Thank you. We have visitors with us. I'll have them introduce themselves as well. So Terry McGuire. Terry is our host, managing the technology. Alan?
Hello, Alan Yudsmukas. I teach at the high school, and I am here in my role as one of the two co-presidents of the Gardner Teachers Association.
Chad?
I am Chad Kempton, and I'm the principal at the high school.
And Victoria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Victoria Tracy, and I'm going to be writing about what happens during the policy meeting for the GMS newspaper.
Great. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to reading what you write in the middle school paper. So why don't we get started? Everyone has the agenda. The first item on the agenda is the JEA, compulsory school attendance. At the last meeting, Ange pointed out that on page 1, under B, at the end of 4, that our policy had an or, yet in the law book, in the statute book, that's supposed to be and. That's significant. And the or has been in our policy forever, and no one caught it. So Ange, thank you. Appreciate that. So that is the only change to this particular policy since you saw it last month. Any other comments about that or questions? Okay. Then the next one is where we'll have probably greater dialogue. We want to come back and discuss the student dress code. So last month, in the student dress code, there was a change in there that related specifically to hats and headwear. So we were looking at modifying the current policy that says that headwear could not be worn in school at any time, to allow that hats and headwear that do not partially or fully cover the face or conceal a person's identity except for religious and cultural attire would be allowed to wear those hats in school. There was some concern, if you remember, people were on different sides of the issue. There were some board members that felt it was appropriate, and there were some board members that felt it was inappropriate and disrespectful. So we were charged with going back to students and staff to do a little more work and to include elementary administrators and middle school administrators as well. So I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Kempton, who's actually done a lot of work, did some survey, and has some information for you regarding it. Now, I shared with you earlier today an updated policy. It was through a Google document. So hopefully you all received it so that you can see some changes that are not reflected in the policy that I sent to you in last week's packet, okay? So Mr. Kempton, would you like to walk us through the surveys that you received?
Sure. So, excuse me, still got that cough. So excuse me if I cough on mic here. But so what I did is I did a Google survey after the last meeting to get feedback from both staff and students on two of the biggest questions that took place at our last meeting. So obviously it's headwear, and then there was also some questions that kids had for me in regards to the belly / midsection. So I put that on the survey as well. And I think that Pat, where they shared the pie charts of the responses. Okay.
No, they came in late this afternoon, so I didn't have a
Okay.
chance. And
Okay.
Terry, would you give me share capabilities so that I can share a copy of what we're talking about so board members can see it? Ooh, if I know how to do this. This is different from Google Meet.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know that I've ever done it from here before.
Well,
so you keep talking and I'll play
keep
with
talking.
it.
So from the staff side, I put it out to all staff. I had 37 responses. And that goes to all staff, not just teachers, but to guidance counselors, administrators, ed techs, support staff, etc. So I got 37 responses. And the question that I asked, I'll just read it to you because you won't be able to see it, is, are you in favor of allowing students to wear clothing that exposes the midsection belly during school? This is written in the proposal as clothing attire that exposes one's body parts, including, and this is part of the policy, genitals, chest, belly, back, buttocks, underwear, bra, excluding bra straps, when a person is standing, are not to be worn on school grounds while school is in session or during school-sponsored functions, including but not limited to athletic events, theater productions, and musical performances by students. Fabric covering the chest, genitals, and buttocks must be opaque. And so the responses from staff, that 65% or 24 staff members voted that they were not in favor of allowing this, and 13 voted in favor of allowing simply what we call the belly or the midsection clothing, the high cut shirts allowed to be worn. And then the second question that I asked both groups is, are you in favor of allowing students to wear headwear during the school day? Policy currently reads, headwear that partially or fully covers the face or conceals a person's identity, except religious, cultural attire and safety protective gear, are not to be worn by students upon entering the school building. Are you in favor of replacing this with hats and headwear that do not partially or fully cover the face or conceal the person's identity, except religious, cultural attire and safety protective gear, are allowed to be worn in the school building outside of classrooms, including lobby areas, hallways, cafeteria? Hats and headwear except religious, cultural attire and safety protective gear are not allowed to be worn in classrooms. So in that question, 78% or 29 staff members supported that and 8 did not. And then I received 12. I gave an optional, please give me feedback if you feel it is important. And I had 12 responses that I've shared out as well. And those were a mixture of responses, both for and against. And again, I've shared those. I could move on. But from the student side, getting back to those questions, I put it out to all students. So that's a little over 600 students. Got 178 responses. So it's about a third of the school population responded to this survey, which I think was pretty good. And for the same question in regards to clothing that exposes the midsection / belly, we had an 81% in favor and 20%, or 80 and 20%. So 80% were, oh, my screen just switched. So Pat, you've taken over my screen, so I can't see my charts.
Oh, I had Terry do it.
So that results in 144 students, or 80.9%, were in favor of this, and 34 students, 19.1%, were not in favor of that. And then in regards to the hats headwear, there were 170 students, or 95.5% of students were in favor of it, and 8 or 4.5% were not in favor of it. And then I had 59 students provide me with additional feedback, which is basically supporting their reason for how they voted and why. So I was pretty happy with the amount of response and input. And quite honestly, I was very happy with the responses, especially from students. Sometimes when you get surveys like this, you get some off-color responses for kids that are joking around, and really there was only one out of that whole group that was kind of a joking response. So I think the kids, both staff and students, took this survey seriously and wanted to give their input on both topics. And I hope this is helpful to guide our conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Chad. This is really helpful. I know that Sarah Sims also did a survey of her staff. She did not of the students, but she did of the staff. And at the middle school, the majority of the staff indicated that they did not want hats at all. They felt that it was disrespectful, and for students at that particular age, it would be difficult for them to be permitted to wear masks in common locations and then be expected to walk into a classroom and remove those hats. They felt that that would be a real challenge for them. So the majority of the staff there do not want to have any headwear. At the elementary school, headwear is really not an issue, but they are also in favor of not having any type of headwear except upon their discretion. They would like to have the ability to allow everyone to wear hats, like if they have a hat day or something fun. So they asked me to put a statement in there that would give them a little bit of flexibility. So given the feedback from staff and students, what I'm proposing, or Mr. Kempton and I and the administrators are proposing, that we actually provide you, staying on page 2, Terry. Yeah, thank you. Having 2 separate sections, one that focuses on grades 9-12 and a different one for grades pre-K through 8, so that we have the differentiation as Mr. Kempton is talking about at the high school, but we are more rigid, I guess, or, by not allowing hats pre-K through grade 8. So that's our recommendation. I see Tony is here with us. Tony is the chair. So Tony, I'm going to step back and let you step into your chair role.
Good evening. My apologies for my delay. I just got noticed this was online. I was at central office, and it was quite dark, and had come straight there. So the email didn't reach me until I was at the door.
Sorry.
No worries. So I appreciate going ahead with this. I do have a couple of things that I appreciate diving into this. A couple observations in the process, but want to get to the point where we're at a discussion on that. Quick note there on G, there's a subject verb agreement on shoes is, shoes, footwear is, shoes are required. So I'd want to clean that up when we get there. Yeah, are we at that part to kind of jump in on some of those pieces, or you want to get through the content?
I would like to get through the content first. Are board members comfortable with the recommended language change to this policy? And then if there are other specific changes that need to happen, we can talk about those next.
So I'm going to thumbs up for the elementary secondary split for the headgear.
I see lots. Diane, I can't see you on my screen, so I can't tell if you're a thumbs up as well. Oh, there we go. Super. Teresa's a thumbs up. Everyone's a thumbs up. I still don't see Diane. Oh, there she is.
There we go.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then Tony, if that's unanimous, then Tony, do you have some other things that you want to talk about on this policy?
Let's see, just a couple of things that I had questions about, and actually, I'm sorry I missed the start of it. Just a quick part of the definitions part. It says gang in the definition section, so earlier, first page, I think. An association or group which identify itself. So that should read identifies itself. So just a little subject verb thing. And then I think I would put a comma in front of the qualifiers such as a bandana. There was a kind of a run on there, I think. Let's see. This happened throughout the all of these policies. We actually are doing two things. So number B, letter B, sorry. The including but not limited to. Sometimes we do including comma but not limited to, no comma. And then sometimes in some of the policies we do including comma but not limited to comma. And I'd like to have consistency there. I'd like it to be including comma but not limited to comma. Symbols and or pictures, if that makes sense. And there's some other policies that have, yeah, that have it, one way, and some that have it the other way. Some of those I did want to check. I appreciate Chad doing the surveys for the kind of clothing parameters around that, and I gather there's pretty broad support for that. I just want to be thoughtful about equity in this process. I know, and I want to be careful about not being like I don't want to promote whatever displays we're going to see in this or come back to. One of the things that comes up for me is like a shirts and skins game or something like that. How do we address that, like in athletics in particular? Or are we going to have like certain things that would be okay on a same gender team or that kind of thing? Or will there be no shirts off? And then how do we enforce that? Will there be inequities in enforcement, and how do we manage that?
So the shirt skins thing that is from our era, Tony, that really isn't a thing anymore, because what they do is they have reversibles.
Oh yeah.
So they'll do, for the most part, they have reversibles. So they'll have a tank top or a shirt that's orange on one side and black on the other, or black and white or orange and white or whatever you want to call it, just so that everyone has a shirt on, whether it's a tank top or basketball attire. So that really is something that is something of the past. And then in the sports aspect, in the sports realm, sports gear is a little bit different than from in the building to a sporting event, in that kids, I'll just give a couple examples, that the sports bras with tank tops that you'll see on the soccer field with the girls, and then you'll see obviously the tank tops with the boys, and that's a different scenario, just because the nature of what they're doing in an athletic event. And if that's something that we have to tweak with this, we certainly can do that to tease that out so it's a little more specific, and that may be necessary. But so, and a lot of times just for example, in football or in lacrosse, boys will wear shirts that are ripped, they're cut off sleeves, and sometimes cut off at the waist, upper. So you'll get some of that in athletics, but maybe that should be something that's put in there, or tweaking the language a little bit so that we don't trip ourselves up on things like that.
I don't know where exactly we'd put that, but just to be mindful that could come up, and just again to have, I guess I'm particularly thinking, that gender equity ahead of time, in the sense that I imagine people would speak up at some point if there is if that that comes up. I don't know exactly where we put that. I don't have that suggestion, so I'd.
And that, while you're processing that, one of the things that I got some feedback from some kids after last meeting was the importance of gender equity, so that if it's a belly, it's a belly. It's not a girl's belly versus a boy's belly, or it's not a, and so just that was one of the things as far as the wording goes in these two proposals that I tried to address. That was an important factor. And so I had some kids come and see me, which I obviously appreciated, because sometimes you think you hear what you're hearing, and then it's like, oh no, we talked about this, and then we talked it through. So a little bit of misunderstandings there, but it was good conversations, and a lot of kids came in, gave me some good feedback about pros and cons of both sides, really.
Oh, nice.
So it was good.
I'm really nice. I appreciate, that we're getting this, like, there's levels of information, you've done good due diligence.
We've got, 178 kids that took the time to provide feedback, and 37 staff members that,
wow,
this was important enough to them to chime in. And, I'm glad we have that information to guide this conversation, because it's not, like I've said to the kids, this isn't about me. In years to come, I'm not going to be there, and I'm a thing of the past. So, but this is still going to be there. So.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, right. Nice that this is something to carry forward. So.
Tony?
Sure.
I see some board members have their hands raised. So I
sorry.
saw Matt and Teresa are both wanting to ask a question or say something.
Thank you. So Matt.
Yeah, I think that the hat situation is actually a really good compromise, and I think that that's something that's a good thing for the students and the teachers. Obviously, the survey that the portion of the survey that you did, Chad, for the midriff issue, I'm not surprised by the outcome. I think the students probably would be certainly down with that, and I don't expect the staff to be necessarily down with it. I guess my question would be, I guess, what's the point? Sort of what's the point of somebody wearing a shirt to school where their midriff is completely exposed with, I'll just say girls, for example, because I'm sure guys could too, but you know, a girl might have a belly ring or something. And I just don't understand. I just don't understand the reasoning why we would consider it. Maybe I'm missing something. I understand it's important for kids to express themselves, but I don't know. Maybe maybe that's the old school of me coming out. I don't know. But the point is if it's a distraction, it's a distraction. Why even bother with it? Then we don't have to worry about equity. Everybody's treated equal. So that's just my 2 cents. I would not vote. I would not give a thumbs up for. I noticed when I read the policy when you sent it out, Pat, that it had belly stricken. But I don't know if we might want to add it back in. Certainly it's up for discussion. It's up for thumbs up, thumbs down, but I certainly wouldn't be supportive of midriff. I just don't see the point.
Yeah, and that part of that, Matt, was some of the feedback that I had from kids, from actually with some of my upperclassmen females, that wanted to get a broader sense of what that looks like from staff and students. So it wasn't just my thoughts and opinions on it. This was a broader view of it as to what everyone thinks of it. So it was a big enough question to put it out there to a larger population to get some feedback around where do people really stand with it, so that I can give the policy committee as much information as possible. And it's not just my opinion on it. This is more of a school-wide view of it. And the feedback, I don't know if you can see or if you received there was a 50 some odd, I'm just going to look and see the dress code survey. So there was a document that had staff and students survey, and there were 59 kids that responded to the survey with additional feedback. And when I was pretty impressed with a lot of what they had to say, and there were some that were for the belly shirts, obviously because of it's a trend, it's a comfort level, it's a fashion thing, it's a lot of what comes off the shelves. And then there was also kids saying that school is not the time and place for clothing like that. Yes, it is available, and yes, it's fashionable and trendable. So I got both sides on that from the kids as well as staff. So staff were both in that point of view. I don't know who was on either side because it doesn't, the survey, that part of it, I can't drill down into, if it was primarily girls or boys or adult males or adult females, but there was a mixture of both from both staff and students on that belly thing. Obviously more support from the kids, as we would expect. I wasn't shocked when I saw the numbers there, but a lot of them said that it shouldn't be a distraction in this time in society, and that there's a lot of differences in fashion and so forth. And some of the kids talked about what used to be ripped jeans, and I shared a story with them that anytime my jeans got ripped, my grandmother would put a patch on them, and that was just a absolute no-no. And now you buy jeans that you can't buy jeans without a rip in them because that's the way they come. And so it was good conversations, and I felt it was important enough just to get a broader response. And what we do with it is obviously part of this conversation, but I just wanted you folks to see as much information as possible, so that it's just not coming from me.
Right, Chad, I appreciate that. The surveys are always really helpful. And I appreciate you do a number of them, and they're really helpful to to sort of frame where we're at and what the students are thinking and the staff.
Yep.
You know, I just kind of think that, just to finish up, I just kind of think that, you know, if we thumbs up to do this, you know, we could be heading down sort of maybe a little bit of a slippery slope. What's short enough? What's long enough? Is the midriff, you know, some people's midriffs are a lot driftier than others, to put it frankly, for lack of a better term. So I don't know. I would not support
Yep.
it, as I pointed out, but I just wanted to just
Yep.
let my voice be heard, and
Thank
I'll
you.
be quiet.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, Matt, I appreciate hearing that. Teresa, I think you had your hand up.
Yes, I'm wondering, I don't know what the definition of gender equality is, and I would like to know what that is actually, in terms of clothing. What is gender equality when it comes to clothing? I'm confused.
Yeah, so I think I'd said, yeah, gender equity. Chad, yeah, if you want to head out with it, I'm happy to jump in as well.
Yeah, so the kids were they didn't want the language to be targeting girls and not in general, so that if, let's just take the bellies, for example, is that regardless of whether it was a boy's belly or a girl's belly, it's either allowable or not allowable. So, or hats, it's allowable and not allowable. So some of the language that was in the old policy tended to go towards one gender or the other, and they wanted to clean that up so that it was just the body in general. And obviously, men and women have different body parts and different, what do I want to say, areas that we need to keep covered as part of being in the public and society, and not using probably the best term in that. So Tony, you can help me out with that, but it's just more about being treated equally and not so that women are, it's distracting to men, so that women aren't seen as an object versus a person. I guess that's probably not doing a great job with it, but that's part of the conversations that I've had with kids, is that if they're showing I'll just give an example, if they're showing up a little bit of their belly, it shouldn't be distracting to a boy, and they shouldn't have to cover up because a boy can't keep their eyes off of their
Okay.
belly.
So when did all of this change? I mean, I'm a graduate from Gardner High School. We weren't allowed to wear clothing like that. I wasn't allowed to wear jeans with holes in them, which I understand. My daughters buy jeans with holes in them specifically. But anything sexual in any way, whether it be a male or a female, I mean, guys have their navels pierced as well. I just think it would be a given that it wouldn't be acceptable in an environment of education.
Yeah, and that kind of like the same question that Matt had, is that there was enough question and conversation about it that I wanted to give you folks not just my view on it, but a larger view of what the staff and students, how they chime in on it and what they think about these two topics, both the headwear as well as what is typically a fashion trend that is coming out. And I'm sure you see it when you go to buy clothing, if you go to Gap and Old Navy and PacSun
Right.
and all those places. So whether it's acceptable or not isn't what I'm challenging or questioning. It's more, this is what the kids are saying, and this is what the staff is saying. And so whether it's in there or not that's part of this conversation, is that if we feel that it's not part of what should be acceptable in school, then that's the way it is. And it's the same conversation with the headwear changing in times, from the 70s and 80s and 90s and so forth. It was just a topic of conversation to consider, so that we're looking at everything as we potentially adjust this policy.
So we should probably add the length of shorts in that as well. I know our policy was skirts and shorts had to, when you're standing and you drop your hand, this was for my girls when they were in high school. When you dropped your hand, your skirt or shorts or dress had to be at the end of your longest finger. So that would be above the knee, but not short shorts or mini skirts or what have you. But shouldn't we include this in what we're doing right now so that we don't have to make a separate meeting to talk about that as well?
What we do is, instead of doing the hand finger rule, it's just that it covers up the buttocks. So that it's not, if someone's got long arms or long hands, and there's a proportional thing there where their arms are, somebody has long arms, and how long is their shorts going to be, and somebody doesn't have long arms and their shorts are different. So we look at it as covering up what is characteristically, body parts that are considered to be private areas. And so buttocks, genitals, chest, and with gender equity, it's that, boys shouldn't be able to walk around with ripped shirts that show off their chest and their nipples. And girls shouldn't be able to either. So that's kind of along the same lines of being treated equally and not as an object. So it's an ongoing conversation and a good one, because everyone's been good about weighing out both sides. But that's if that answers your question, that's
Yeah.
where we're at.
And I was
Focusing on-
actually quite pleased with your survey from the students.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Honestly, it's just covering the parts that society has as probably as a norm for covering, is the private parts, the genitals and so forth.
Yeah, I want to jump in for a second. I see Pat raising your hand. I want to hear from you, Matt. I know you raised your hand, and Ange, I saw your hand as well. And I do want to hear from everybody, but Pat, go ahead.
I would say, can I interrupt? Mine is, it's really about kind of a plan for the rest of the meeting. So we're at 6:10, and the other items on this agenda, the legislation changed. There was some laws that went into effect on October 18th that impacted some of these policies. And we didn't get to them all last month, saying that we would get to them this month. And so I'm just concerned that we're not going to get to them if we don't devote a little bit of time. At the same time, I understand that we clearly need to have more conversation about this particular policy. So I don't want to shut off the conversation. I'm just wondering, Mr. Kempton, I would look to you. I mean, how pressured are you feeling about getting this policy approved? It seems to me that maybe we need to devote an entire meeting to just this conversation so that we're not feeling pressured by other agenda items.
I think that's more for the policy committee.
Okay.
I think that definitely, if you can see from the survey results, that there was stronger support for the approval of the headwear side of this than obviously for the attire where the midriff was exposed. So I think there's a more unified thought that what is the big deal about wearing a hat? And in some of the comments, one of the kids said, I'm growing my hair out and it's a little bit embarrassing, so I feel more comfortable wearing a hat. There's no disrespect there. There's none intended. Some of the kids wear religious attire with, some of the headwear that they do. So I think that's an easier conversation. And maybe the other one is just that we stay with the existing policy of no midriffs, no butts, no bellies, so forth. And then the attire, with the heads headwear is something that we move forward with. So, but again, that's not my decision to make. That's, that's why I wanted to give the committee as much information as I could so that they make informed decisions as I know they want to. And then, if the committee wants to have more discussion about it, I'm more than happy to do that. A lot of kids are asking, when's there going to be a decision made? When's there going to be a decision made? And I was like, this stuff takes time. There's a process to this because it's not just one way today and then another way tomorrow. This is decisions that, last for a while. So.
Hey,
And-
Tony, I think we're close, Tony. There's really only two issues.
Let's see. I'd be happy to come back and have a further discussion. I do like that idea. We seem to be having some rich discussion. I know we've already tabled this one, I think, once. I do want to.
You could vote on each separately if you wanted to.
Hmm.
I mean, just an idea, just a thought as far as the two different topics. But again, I'll be quiet and I'll let you guys do your thing.
I guess we could. Ange, I did want to, if we're going to continue this, yeah, Ange, would you be okay with sharing your thought?
Yeah. First, Mr. Kempton, I really appreciate the efforts that have been made to make the dress code not gender-based. I think that's been done really well. I think with the overwhelming support for the modified plan for the hats, I think that's a really great way to move forward with it. That keeps the most people happy and has the support of most people. And as for the belly thing, I had a question. Did I hear right that the vast majority of the teachers would prefer that belly shirts were still off the table?
Yes, it was, I'd have to go back to, I think it was 65%. Let me go back to the chart and I can give you the numbers. So in regards to the midsection or belly, 65% were not in favor and 35% were in favor. So the vote that I got was 24-13, not in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and on the headwear piece, it was 78.4% in favor and 21.6% not in favor.
Yeah, I guess my opinion is that we could probably pretty easily move forward and take care of the headwear thing. And I don't know what the right decision is to do about the other.
Yeah.
I like the idea of breaking it out so that we can have a decision on part of it and keep moving forward with the discussion. I think we're, having a rich discussion. Again, Chad, as you pointed out, this is something that we want to last, and we want to make sure it's right. Let's see, I see a couple hands coming up. I'm happy to move ahead with a motion. I want to make sure we have all our discussion. Let's see, Matt, I saw yours and I see Teresa. So
Can I just ask a real quick one? So the teachers are not in favor of the hats, is that correct?
Teachers are not in favor of the midriff.
Okay, but they're for the hats?
The percentages were, so the hats was, let me just get-
They're in favor of the proposal that's written in front of you.
Yep.
With the two options where the hats are not worn in the classroom, but hats can be worn in public locations.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pat.
You're welcome.
So real quick, we have another issue here because I know we're specifically looking through the lens of the high school, right? For the belly shirts. We do have 8th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders that are interested in wearing clothes like that as well. Is that something that's acceptable at the middle school? And I say that because that there again, this is the slippery slope. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
If we're gonna do one, we may need to break that out too. If people vote that they want the high school to be able to do it, maybe not the middle school. I would say not at all, but that's me.
I'm getting a sense that people are really leaning towards not supporting the removal of belly. Tony, can I ask for a thumbs up if that's the case, just so that we can get an informal, is my assessment correct? One,
So-
Teresa, I can't see what your hand is.
I know, I don't know why my thing's so small. So Pat, you're saying we are not for belly shirts. Thumbs up.
No, for not removing that language from the existing policy, which would mean that belly shirts could not be worn, so midriffs would not be exposed.
So wait, thumbs up
Okay,
to not expose midriffs.
right. And Diane, Diane, do you have a thumbs up or down?
I'd like,
I don't have a vote because I'm not on the committee.
Oh, you
I'm
are
just
on the
attending.
committee. You are on the committee, Diane.
On policy? Oh,
I thought you were. Oh, maybe not.
Okay,
Maybe it's Matt
I-
Lillybridge. Maybe that's my error.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to move this along, Tony, so that we can do a few other policies that really are time sensitive.
yes.
So I'm seeing that the majority of the board members here tonight are in favor of keeping the word belly in the policy, okay? And are the majority in favor of the other language as written regarding hats? I think there was, okay. All right. Are there any other changes? I think those were really the bulk of the issues.
Yep.
Okay, do you want to vote on that separately, or do you want to tie it into all of the other policies?
You mean vote on the dress code separately or just?
Or just wrap them all up? Because at the end, you need to make a motion to recommend these policies to the board for a first read.
I'd do this as let's do this separately. Let's pull JICA out.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion on that? To send it to the board for a first read as we've discussed? Matt? I don't see us. Who's
I'll
the
second it.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, and then because we are virtual, I have to do roll call. So Teresa, yay or nay?
EA.
Nicole,
Yay.
Matt,
Yay.
Ange,
Yay.
Tony.
I'm going to go with nay.
Okay. And you're right, Diane, you're not on. It's Matthew Lillybridge who's missing. Okay, so it passes. And so that will go to the board as a first read. So thank you for that. I want to be cognizant of the time because we need to transition and it's already 6:21. So I'm going to try to go through quickly. So the next policy, JICIA, that particular policy is the weapons, violence, and school safety policy. Ange brought to our attention that on the last page, page 4 under legal references, listed is 15 dash exclamation point, and that should be dash A. We also deleted here, I deleted 1055 section 11. The reason I deleted that, Ange, Drummond Woodsum, our attorneys, provided a draft policy and they did not include that section. under their legal reference, which is why I crossed it out. Based on the comment that you made, you felt that it still was relevant and appropriate. I mean, we certainly can keep it in. That would be up to you guys. And you're certainly the expert, given the work that you do. If you feel that it should stay, I have no issue with that.
I think it should, because I checked the language that was at that reference and checked our policy to see that the same sort of thing does apply. It's talking about assembling a notification team within 10 days. And with the 15 and the 15A, we lost that was attached to section 1001. So I had to go hunting to find that. So I wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay. All right. Thank you for doing that work. I appreciate it. Again, I just cut and paste from Drummond Whitson, and that was an error. Any other changes that need to be made to that particular policy?
Yeah, I had a couple of things I noticed. There's a language thing that says staff is right at the beginning of JICIA, and I think it should say staff are.
Yes.
Let's see, second paragraph, first sentence, school staff is required, are required. There's a language thing, and I can sum it up a little differently, but it's, so 1A says possession and or use of articles commonly used as weapons or designed to inflict bodily harm and or to threaten. The to inflict and to threaten, we could lose that to right there. That it's an extra infinitive, and I don't know why it's there. So we could say designed to inflict bodily harm and or threaten, intimidate, coerce, or harass. We don't have to say and or to threaten.
Okay.
And I think I was going to throw a comma to the after the coerce or harass another person, comma. Comma, except when used in an approved instructional activity. I would, so some like, the punctuation stuff there, I would look at some language changes around Kung Fu stars to maybe throwing stars, or it just kind of, I guess I hadn't heard the phrase Kung Fu stars, so it was like, I don't know what that is. But I've heard throwing stars, and I looked it up, and like ninja stars or shuriken is the technical word for those, I think, or the, language of origin for that. If other people are familiar with that, I just want to be clear about what we're talking about. And let's see. Couple other, that same thing on C that I talked about in A, the infinitive, to inflict bodily harm and or to threaten. I don't think we need the second to in there. And we're missing a comma on D. Let's see. Commit violence against persons or property, parenthesis, e.g., blah, 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 end parenthesis, comma, stalking. There's a comma missing right there.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Sure. So D of part 1, I won't go all day on this one. Yeah. So right before the new section that says stalking, comma, or blocking, there should be a comma before stalking.
Yep. Got it.
On Roman numeral 3, first paragraph, second parenthesis in there. So leading up to is, so it says supervised instructional activities, parenthesis, e.g. archery, boat building, hunter safety. And we're talking about use of firearms and other weapons. And so archery and hunter safety makes sense. I'm not sure why boat building's in there, and just wanted to get a clarification on that.
I don't know. I didn't change that part of your policy. It's already in there. So I'll have to double check.
I mean, I
It
get
doesn't make sense to me.
you might use, stuff you should be careful with when building
Right.
a boat, but I don't know. That just,
So, yeah, any others quickly, Tony? We're at 6:28 and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
now have a pile of policies that, again, time sensitive that we haven't gotten through. One actually being an expulsion hearing policy, which
you want to get to that
I-
one?
I really need to get to that, and we
Okay.
are out of time. Do you have any other changes, or if there are grammatical changes, can you just send them to me in an email or punctuation?
I can, yeah.
Okay, that would be great. So skipping to the expulsion, it's JKE. I actually spotted an error in the first paragraph. At the very end of the sentence, it says 20-A MRSA. It should be 1009, not 109. So that needs to be corrected. That was just a typing error on my part.
Wait.
What about the rest of it? Ange?
That's a reference to the Gun Free Schools Act for the superintendent's duties? Because that would be 1001 subsection 9A.
I guess I'll have to go back. I copied that directly from Drummond Woodsum. That's what they provided to, and I actually double checked it when I realized that I made a mistake. And that was what they referenced. So you think it should be 1001 because that is already in the paragraph up above. It's still in the paragraph, but it's in the
I'm
sentence
checking.
above what I'm saying.
I'm checking just now. Let's see, 1009. Section 1009 does not exist. Title 28, Section 1009 isn't a thing. It's Title 28, Section 1001, subsection 9A is a reference to the Federal Gun Free Schools Act and your authority under that.
Okay. All right. Well, I will make that change, and I will need to contact Drummond and Woodsum. I'm trying to pull that up because that's exactly what they have is 1009. That was a copy and paste. So let's change it for now. And this is their work. So I'm sure it's accurate, but I need to confirm that with our attorney since that's what they do and make sure that they correct the information as well. So I will make it 1001. Okay. Anything else in that particular policy? And we are beyond time here, so.
I just had a question on number 5 on A, provides a copy of the board's expulsion guidelines. Who provides a copy?
I do.
Okay, so superintendent provides a copy to the parents
Right, it says at the top, before any expulsion hearing, the
Okay.
superintendent shall.
and shall provide a copy. Gotcha. There we go.
Yep.
All right. Yep.
Okay, anything else? We really are beyond time. So we have to go. And again, I am a bit concerned, just so you know, that we have some other policies now that are in effect. And we have yet to update them. So at our next meeting in March, we'll absolutely need to get through those, okay? And I do need a motion to move forward to the board policy JEA, JICIA, and JKE as for first read.
Yep. So moved.
Okay,
Second,
Ange. All right, and I'm going to read your name off regarding this. Teresa,
Yay.
Nicole,
Yay.
Matt Marshall,
Yay.
Ange Pitheroff,
yay.
and Tony B.
Yay.
There is one other thing before we close. I'm really sorry, board. At the bottom of this was a job description for Assistant to Director of Operations. We need to post that job. The person in it is retiring at the end of the school year. And one of the requirements is for the person to hold a bus license. So if we're going to post this, we need to post it ASAP. So I sent to you, I included in the packet, a copy of that particular job description. I modified it to reflect the law. There are some new driving requirements. If you've had the chance to look at that, I guess at this point, do I just have your permission to go ahead and post it, knowing the only change I made was to reflect the law? I see some thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Otherwise, I'm really concerned that we're not going to give a new person time to get their bus license. Okay. I'm going to say that we're adjourned, Tony.
Let's say that. Thank you very much.
Whew, thank you. Appreciate it. That was a lot of good work. I appreciate it, everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Kempton.
Hopefully people are staying on because we're going to keep right in the same meeting and go into our next regular school board meeting.
Becky, it is now 6:35. I think we are ready to begin when you are.
Yes, I want to say when it comes time for executive session, I may have to relocate. I'm in my kitchen, and I can pretty much guarantee anonymity, but when it comes to that, I may need to leave and go to a different place. My internet is a little bit unstable tonight, so I came back here. So, welcome to our February 3, 2022 regular board meeting. I will call us to order, and we'll do board member introductions and just go around. I will begin, and then I will call on the next person. I'm Becky Fless, chair of the board. Matthew.
So Becky, I'm sorry. Because we are doing this remotely, you have to do a call to order roll vote. So we have to call on each person, and we have to record that they're in attendance. So we just need them to say yay.
Perfect. Thank you. Out of the habit. So I will call us to order now. Becky Fless, yay. Veronica Babcock.
Yay.
Teresa Garrett.
Yay.
And Matthew Lillybridge, is he with us yet? He was going to be late, so I believe he'll be joining us in a little bit. Jim Lothridge.
Yay.
Nicole Medore.
Yay.
Matthew Marshall.
Yay.
Chris McLaughlin.
Yay.
Ange Piroff.
Yay.
Diane Potter.
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy. Alyssa Tracy?
She's here. I can see her trying to talk to say hello.
Okay, I'll just accept that because I can see her too. And Tony Veet.
How about now?
There we,
Yeah.
we
Yep,
got
there
you.
we are.
Yay.
Great, thank you. And Tony Veet.
Yay.
Okay, thank you. Administrative staff,
You forgot the student reps.
Sophie Matthews
Yay.
and Gwen Bolduc-Ignatiak.
Yay.
Thank you. Our administrative staff.
Thank you, Becky. Pat Hopkins, Superintendent of Schools, and then I will call on administrators. Terry McGuire,
Terry McGuire, Director of Technology.
Angela,
Angela Hardy, Director of Curriculum.
Chad,
Chad Kempton, high school principal.
you guys keep moving around here. Christina,
Christina O'Neill, Principal at Pittston Randolph Consolidated School.
Alicia,
Alicia Morris, Director of Special Services.
Josh,
Josh Farr, Director of Adult Education.
Katie,
Katie Gould, Principal at Helen Thompson School.
Karen,
Karen Moody, Principal of Laura Richards School.
Sarah,
Sarah Sims, Principal at Gardner Regional Middle School.
sorry, I'm going back. I could have sworn I saw Vicky here.
Vicky
Yep, she's
Duque,
there.
Principal of Riverview Community School.
Yeah, your name's not popping up on the side. So is there anyone that I missed? Nope, guess that's it. There you go, Becky.
Nobody that is admitting to being missed. Flying under the radar. All right, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to convene into public comment, the public comment period of our meeting. State law in Maine requires public comment items on the agenda of a full meeting of the school board. We also believe it's crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues, and are so pleased to have this as an agenda item. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is designed to be a discussion. Accordingly, please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. This is because we take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. We will, if appropriate, respond to your questions and concerns at a future meeting or have the proper staff member get back to you at the appropriate time. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to entertain any comments or questions about school personnel. Please know, however, that we take personnel concerns very seriously. On these matters, we would ask you to go through the appropriate administrative channels. Finally, we recognize that right now our nation and our community are polarized on a number of issues. That said, we want our school board meetings to serve as an example to our students that members of our school board and members of our community can deal with controversial issues in a civil manner and demonstrate mutual respect for one another. In that spirit, we will insist that all speakers and members of the audience maintain civility and respect for any divergent views that others possess. We ask that speakers please address their comments to the school board directly rather than to the audience. Speakers may address items pertinent to tonight's meeting agenda or any topic dealing with school or education matters. In the unlikely event that the meeting becomes unruly, the board will recess the meeting and return once order has been restored. Finally, I want to remind everyone that you may submit written comments to the board in lieu of speaking during the public comment period if you so choose. The board will now entertain public comments for 15 minutes. Each individual speaker is allotted 2 minutes. The individual time limits will be enforced so that many members of the public who wish to speak may be allowed to do so. Do we have anyone who's willing to be the timekeeper?
Becky,
Jim.
I do not
Yes.
see anyone here in the meeting with us from the audience, from the public rather. I only see board members and administrators. I don't see anyone else.
Okay. All right then. Well, thank you for that, Pat. And Jim, thank you for being willing to be our timekeeper. You're very trustworthy in that way. I appreciate that so much. Moving along to the Health Advisory Committee.
Yes, the Health Advisory Committee met on Monday. It reviewed the current COVID data and trends. It was noted that as of Friday, January 28th, we've been made aware of 309 positive student cases and 63 positive staff cases since the beginning of the school year. Those numbers represent an increase of 148 positive student cases and an increase of 37 positive staff cases since the last time the committee met early January. That's a 48% increase in student cases and a 59% increase in staff cases. The vaccination rate for students ages 5 to 18 has gone up to 55 to 59% in our zip code. The number of COVID cases in schools in the state jumped to 11,526 cases in the last 30 days, and that reflects a 5,280 student increase. The committee discussed pool testing. Many school districts around the state continue to experience various issues with pool testing. Without an incentive to implement it here, it was agreed that testing should remain on the back burner. And overall, the committee agreed at this time there's been no substantial change to our current situation that would warrant the board taking any action on the mandatory mask mandate. I don't know if there's anyone else who was at the meeting who would like to add to that.
Crickets. All right, hearing none, I guess we'll move along. I miss being in the room together. It's weird being back like this again. All right, moving along then. Review and approval of agenda minutes, prioritization of items, and alteration of the established agenda format sequence as needed.
Couple changes since this was posted last week. Under under section 6, correspondence, the effective date of a letter of resignation was changed from March 22nd to January 31st. Under general information, under number 9, Lori Beth Rankin, we have appointed her as the fitness center supervisor for semester 2 at the high school. And then just under reports, under my report, I just want to talk about snow days just for a minute. That's it.
All right then. Motion to accept the agenda as altered.
So moved. Tony.
Moved by Tony, second.
I'll second it, Matt.
Thank you. Let's see then, I will call the order. Becky Fletch, yay. Veronica Babcock.
Yay.
Teresa Garrett.
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge. Oh, not here yet. Jim Lothridge.
Yay.
Nicole Medore.
Yay.
Matt Marshall.
Yay.
Chris McLaughlin.
Yay.
Ange Pitteroff,
Yay.
Diane Potter,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy, I think she's missing. Tony Veet.
Yay.
Okay, and Sophie
Yay.
and Gwen.
Yay.
Thank you. Did Alyssa arrive back?
Hey, Becky, I'm here.
Okay, there, great. Do you approve the minutes as altered?
Yes, yay.
Great, thank you. All right, moving along. Approval of the agenda and minutes of previous meetings. Motion to approve?
I move.
Okay, motion by Veronica, second by Tony. I'll call the roll again. Becky Fless, yay. Veronica Babcock,
Yay.
Teresa Garrett,
Yay.
Jim Lopridge,
Yay.
Nicole Madore,
Yay.
Matthew Marshall,
Yay.
Chris McLaughlin,
Yay.
Ange Pitteroff,
Yay.
Diane Potter,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
Tony Veet,
Yay.
and Sophie Matthew,
Yay.
and Gwen Bolduc Ignatiak.
Yay.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Recognitions and celebrations. First of all, I would like to welcome our new board member from West Gardner, Christopher McLaughlin, who has willingly agreed to stand in and fill Patrick Saucier's vacant seat. Chris, I could talk about you, but you talk about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and let's make him feel welcome as best we can.
I'll make it brief. It's a long night. 2002 graduate of Gardner. I lived in West Gardner my whole life. I coached baseball there for 4 or 5 years. I currently serve as the fire chief in Topsom. I have an 8 and a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old in the school system. So here I am.
Great. Chris, welcome and thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Next on the agenda, Pat, do you want to speak to Rayanne's award?
Sure. I received notification from the city of Gardner that the city of Gardner voted to give the Spirit of America Award to Rayanne. The award recognizes a community volunteer who goes above and beyond their job to make their community a better place. And they indicated they couldn't think of a better candidate than Rayanne, with all of the work that she does around the Tiger Food Pantry, her work with Rotary, organizing trunk or treats for the past few years, and all of the other things. They were very happy to give her this award, this recognition. So congratulations to Rayanne.
Thank you, and thank you, Rayanne, for all that you do for our kiddos. And next, Mike Gray. This is a sad one. I was really hopeful that we would be in the room tonight and that he would be there, all 9 feet of him, and we could celebrate him. But congratulations, Mike, on your 200th game. 200 games, is that correct? It's a no.
200th career win. So,
200th
yes.
career win. There we go. With Gardner Area High School girls varsity basketball. Pat, do you want to add anything or?
No, congratulations. It's really exciting. I mean, Mike has done a phenomenal job as our varsity coach for our girls team, and we're really grateful for all of his hard work. And this is just quite an accomplishment. So congratulations to Mike.
And we're fortunate to have him not only as a coach, but as a teacher. So that's
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Thank you.
And department head.
And the department head. Correspondence?
Yes, as written, we have a letter of resignation from a Kristen Peralt teacher at LER effective January 31st. And then we have a letter of resignation from Charles Wilson, our assistant director for operations, but that is not effective until June 30th. So we will be advertising that position very shortly. So if you know anyone who is interested, and who would be willing to get their bus driver license and be an assistant to Gabe, please have them reach out to us.
Great. We'll miss Charles.
Hopefully he'll still drive on the side.
That would be great. He's always loved driving a bus.
Yeah.
It's his favorite thing. Yeah. Committee reports, capital area technical. I thought no meeting. Curriculum. Okay.
Good meeting. Good evening, everybody. Give me 1 second, if you would. We met on January 11th, and we met with our instructional coaches, and it was probably my second most favorite curriculum committee meeting. Very motivated individuals. They're doing a super job helping our staff work on improving delivery of material, teaching material, and coming up with different aspects of how to improve their instructional techniques. One thing that was really interesting, I've always supported the coaches, and I think if in this year's budget, if we could possibly come up with money to hire a couple of additional coaches, given that the teachers have been out of the classroom for 1.5 to 2 years, we should probably do that. They've been instrumental in getting teachers back to where they need to be in front of students. And interesting, I just want to point out one thing that's really interesting. From the last couple of years, they've had a 600% increase in contact with teachers. That's teachers asking for help, which was absolutely amazing. It was something that was just mind-boggling for the folks on the curriculum committee. Did you want to add anything, Angela?
No, you did a nice job. Maybe only that the model that we use is student-centered coaching. And so the idea is to really look at how students are demonstrating their learning, where are the roadblocks or the challenges, and how can they help partner with teachers to shift that. So some teachers, all our teachers have really incredible strategies, but sometimes it helps to have a thought partner to kind of look at that scenario. And actually they will work with some students to get to know the students better and truly be that partner with teachers. Their job is not to fix teachers, their job is to partner with teachers and really help them be efficient and effective at reaching our goals, because together they can make greater impact and not feeling like teachers feel alone in that work.
There's one other thing I would like to add. It says a lot about them when they've cultivated a sense of trust with teachers, that they're not there to critique them necessarily. They're there to help them, and they're not there to pass anything on to any administrator that teachers happen to work for. So that loyalty and trust is extremely important. So I just want to publicly thank them for what they do.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions or comments for Matt or Angela? Okay, we'll move right along then. Dropout prevention?
Yes, we did meet. I have not gotten my copy of the minutes back from Jared yet, but I'm sure he's in the process of getting them to us. We are still working on the differential diploma. I know that is I know both Josh and Jared have been in discussions with Angela on what that will look like. And so at this point, it's on the agenda, and we're going to continue to work towards it. The reality is that I don't think we're going to get it done for this year, but we'll certainly try to make sure it happens for next year. So that's about it.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Jim. Finance Committee, we met January 18th, and we went over Gabe was our guest, and we went over our 5-year plan. We continue to need heat pumps in West Gardner, and we continue to need roofing work done. Paving continues to be something that we have to keep on the radar and talk about. And we went over our enrollment. And Pat, I don't know if you would like to speak to our upcoming enrollment a little bit, or you're muted.
I don't have that information in front of me, but what I provided to the Finance Committee is I took this year's enrollment and I rolled it over to next year. I'm kind of projecting what our staffing levels are going to need to be in order to meet the needs of our student population. And so that was the information that I shared. I think we were looking at a very small decrease overall in our population. It was not significant. But again, that can change. It changes on a daily basis. But I don't have that information at my fingertips, being that I'm at home here, Becky, sorry.
Oh, right, I forgot you're not in the office. I'm sorry, I forgot you're not at the office. Thank you. And Finance Committee and board members will be beginning to meet more regularly now that we will be beginning to build the budget in the next few weeks. So keep watching your emails for Finance Committee meetings. And if you have questions, it's a great, interesting committee to come and visit. So I'll look forward to seeing you all there. Policy Committee.
Great. Thank you. So we met on January 6th, 2022. And we have, let's see, a group of policies for first reading. Had robust discussion in that meeting, and we had actually ended up tabling one policy that we continued at our most recent meeting, which was tonight. That'll come for a first reading. It's the dress code will come for a first reading next month. So these are the ones that we are presenting for first reading here. And I think I'll do one for the first reading, and then if I can clarify, do we need a second motion for the rescissions, or
you can group them all together?
You can bundle them, yeah. So so we have several policies that have been updated in the first reading, and so the rescissions are reflected there to make way for the new ones. So if I could put forward a motion to accept the first reading of the listed policies and the rescission of the listed policies as written. I need a second.
Make a second.
Thank you. I was muted. Motion from Tony, second from Veronica. Any questions or comments? I will then read the roll. Becky Fluss, yay. Veronica Babcock.
Yay.
Teresa Garrett.
Yay.
Jim Lockridge.
Yay.
Nicole Medore.
Yay.
Matthew Marshall.
Yay.
Christopher McLaughlin.
Yay.
Ange Pitteroff.
Yay.
Diane Potter.
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy.
Yay.
Tony Beat.
Yay.
Sophie Matthew.
Yay.
And Gwen Boldick Ignatiak.
Yay.
Great, thank you. Motion carries. All right. Student rep.
Yep. Right here.
Oh, hang on one second. I'm sorry. Teresa, I didn't see your hand. You have a question?
No, I'm just exploring and I just found that, but I didn't know I hit it. So I'll get rid of that.
Well, that's fine. It's fun to explore. That's great. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead with the student report.
Yep, I've got some information from the Interact Club.
Great.
They inducted some new members on February. Oh, they are inducting some new members on February 16th in the Little Theater. They're inducting 10 new members and a new board, and they look forward to announcing the goals they have set for the next school year, 2022-2023. The Interact Club and National Honor Society are teaming up for Operation Heart, which is where we make homemade Valentines for organizations and members of our community, first responders, retirement homes, stuff like that. And the Interact Club is also creating Easter baskets for the Rotary Club raffle event for March 25th and 26th. It's similar to the Festival of Trees, so keep an eye out for that. It's taking place at Johnson Hall, and we'll also be creating May Day baskets for the community members on May 1st.
Oh my gosh, so many fun things. I did receive an invitation to the Johnson Hall Easter egg basket or the Easter basket event. So that looks like fun.
I'll have to look into
Excellent.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any opportunity to go have fun. We need to do more of that.
Agreed.
And I'm going to donate a basket on behalf of MSAD11. So Linda will help me put that together. She's always creative, Linda Surgeon. And so we're going to create one. It will say MSAD11, but we'll cover it behind the scenes. So it will be my donation. So it should be fun.
If you all have not taken the opportunity to go upstairs in the superintendent's office, it is always seasonally heavily decorated, thanks to Linda. So, and I understand that she has an entire building dedicated to all the seasonal items that she possesses that she shares with us. I think that's great. So that's a great idea. Wellness committee.
Before you get to wellness, Sophie, is there anything that you wanted to add? If I could check with her, because I know like right now we're supposed to be doing Mamma Mia. That's playing this weekend.
Yes, so the musical was canceled for opening night tonight. So tomorrow, as long as everything is okay, tomorrow will be our opening night. And Thursday's show is getting moved to a Saturday matinee at 1:00. So all of the tickets that were supposed to be for tonight are forward to Saturday, and there are still tickets open.
Great. It promises to be a good time. Thank you, Sophie. Hope Field Committee. Not a whole lot to report there. Yes, no?
We started to do wellness committee and we didn't give Alyssa a chance to report.
Moving backwards.
No
Alyssa.
worries. Thank you. And Sophie, I'll be at the play tomorrow. I'm hoping we got our tickets, so I'm looking forward to it. Wellness committee, last year we talked about visiting schools, and then we were able to secure space at Zardis and Gardner. So last month we were able to have a class. The next one is next Wednesday at 3 p.m. This last time was just me, Ari, and Christy, which was still good for us, but anybody that wants to join is welcome, even if you're late. It was still a useful time, so I just invite anyone to come. And otherwise, Ari shared his pun and some other good feedback in the notes, so thank you.
And what time is that?
3 p.m. on Wednesday, February 9th.
Okay. Sardis is such a cool place. That's great. Moving along, Hoke Field, there's not really any, nothing really to report.
No, we're just still waiting for some drawings. The next step is to really look at the recognition wall. So that work is happening behind the scenes. We hope to be ready for spring.
Yep. Hoping to get that when the ground thaws, being able to make some movement there. General information?
Just as written, this is just some transfers within the building. I do want to highlight, though, we've hired two, count them, two new full-time backup bus drivers. Woo! So we're really excited about that. It's the first time we've had
Yay!
backup drivers in a very long time. So
I just can't even imagine. Yay!
Gabe is very happy.
I'll bet he is. I'll bet he is. Well, thank you to our new bus drivers for joining us. We need you. Nominations, none. Old business.
So old business. I want to talk about this a little bit. So what the old business is approval of the memorandum of understanding with the local associations that are affiliated with the MEA, and to also provide a $250 gift certificate and 15 COVID days to other full-time employees. And I would also add to that and a half day off on an early release day. This is a retroactive proposal. And let me give a little bit of the history about what this is about. So this MOU was developed through the negotiation process with the 5 union associations that are affiliated with the MEA. The gift cards were a part of that, and they were the board's response to demonstrate their support and appreciation for staff who have taken on so many additional responsibilities in order to keep our doors open to students, to allow students in quarantine to still access school remotely in grades 6 through 12, for giving up their prep time to cover classes. And when that happens, it means that they're working after school, at home, at night, and on weekends when they don't have that time available, and to address the overall fatigue and stress in working under those conditions for 2 full years. The 15 COVID days, the legislation was passed last year, giving all school employees 15 days from January 1st to October 18th. It was not the intent of the sponsors of the bill for those days to expire on October 18th. But instead, their intent was to expire when COVID ended. That's not how the language in the legislation was worded. So now there is another bill. It was recently on the news, but there was another bill that's being put forth in front of the legislation to remedy their unintended end date, so that all staff would have the 15 COVID days through COVID. The MOU for MSAD11 says that those days would end on June 30th. At the December board meeting, the negotiation process, which is always done in executive session, that's a confidential process, it was not yet completed. Thus, it really prevented the board from publicly voting on the MOU. It still wasn't done. So as part of the negotiation process, it was discussed, and the board unanimously voiced its support for the components of the MOU, gave me, the negotiations team, the authority to move forward. We were trying to get the gift cards in the hands of employees prior to Christmas. And so due to time constraints to get those gift cards out, they were distributed prior to the next board meeting. I signed the agreement on December 23rd. Since the document had been signed and executed, I did not bring it back to the board for a vote. I've since consulted with our school attorney, who very clearly stated that he had no concerns with how our MOU was handled. In addition to the MOU, I recommended to Becky that each board member also receive a $250 gift card in recognition for your countless hours of work. You're not paid for the hours, the many hours that you put in. Yes, you're paid to attend a regular board meeting or a special meeting, but you're not paid for committee work and all of that extra time. And Lord knows in the last 2 years, you've attended many, many meetings. So I thought it was appropriate for you to also receive the $250 gift card. And at no time did the board member advocate for that. That recommendation came from me. In consultation with our attorney, The state statute specifically states the means in which school board members can be compensated. Because it's so specific, and the statute is silent to any other forms of compensation, the attorney recommended to me that school board members return their gift cards. Many board members have already done that. We already have them, and the rest have documented the plan on how that money will be returned to the district, and it will be repaid within this fiscal period, by June, the end of June. The school board has received emails from 2 community members who have expressed concern with how the MOU was developed and executed. And so in speaking with our school attorney, our attorney recommended that I place this on the agenda this month to have you approve it, to make sure that it's clear what it is that we're doing, and make sure that everyone knows about it and they don't feel that it was done underhandedly. So I am requesting that the board retroactively vote to approve the MOU and to provide for all other full-time employees, such as the central office, administrators who are not affiliated with the MEA, the $250 gift card, the 15 COVID days, which is going to be mandated by legislation anyway, and the half day off on an early release day.
So moved.
Second.
I didn't
Moved by
catch who
Tony,
moved
second.
that, Tony.
Tony, sorry.
Tony and Alyssa, second. Are there any questions or comments? Teresa?
So I don't know if I was mistaken, but looking at the executive session, when we went into executive session, we had talked about, discussed the non-instructional education association contract. And from what I gathered, from what I thought, was that we had voted to give all non-instructional staff the gift card. And so that's what I was led to believe. So when people were alarmed at the expense, I didn't realize it was going to be that much, because again, I thought it was to show appreciation to all non-instructional staff, which was the lunch ladies, the janitors, the ed techs especially, because they go over and above, of course. Well, everybody has been. But I was just a little confused with that number, because again, I thought it was for all non-instructional.
No, that is not what the board, that was not the suggestion. You might be thinking that it came to us as that was an executive session, and I'm not certain that we can talk about that, Pat. All of this is executive session material.
What we have said, though, is that this was done through the negotiation process, that the MEA approached us regarding the fatigue, the demands on our staff, and the negotiations team worked with all of the associations to find a way of recognizing all of that time. I can only speak for me personally. I thought it was very clear that we were talking about all of our associations and that we were talking about everyone. But we do walk a very fine line about what was discussed in negotiations, and that must remain confidential. And that's typical of all negotiation processes.
Just in the future, just so you're clear, Teresa, all negotiations are done in executive session. They are never, they're just not open to the public. It is that way everywhere. And it was absolutely clearly the desire of the negotiations committee to look at all units across the district, every employee across the district, that every employee would receive a gift of $250. It was never never for one. So it's really important when we're in those executive sessions that we come out and questions are asked within the executive session, but none of this material can be publicly shared. Alyssa, and then Matt.
Thank you. I just wanted to offer, Pat, and appreciate your conversations with the individuals as mentioned and your consultation with the attorney. At this point, I would encourage folks that continue to have questions like that over email to come to our meetings and speak during the public session. That's what it's for, so you can be heard. I know, Pat, you've spent a lot of time on getting the right information, and we're being very clear right now. So I just like to remind people, even in a virtual meeting, that you're able to attend and speak again for any of these things that come up. So thank you, Pat, for that.
Alyssa, thank you very much for that. And you're absolutely right. And Pat and I have had several conversations about how much time this is taking and the expense, how much money we're spending consulting attorneys for things that were done in executive session. And that's not okay. We're not paying our superintendent to have to do this kind of work. Our contract negotiations are not done in secret. They are done appropriately as the law provides and permits. So any of those questions, any questions that we can answer, we publicly answer. And it is really important that we protect. It exposes the district to legal repercussions if we do not observe our executive session rules that are not ours. They're set in statute. That's just the way they are. Matt.
Yeah, Pat, I just wanted to thank you for explaining exactly what happened so that not only we can remember, but the public can understand as well. And I just want to make it perfectly clear that I know that your suggestion of providing cards to board members came from a place of kindness and nothing else. So I just want to put that out there. And I know you've taken that on a little bit, but it was out of kindness, and I truly appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to
Agreed.
say, oh, sorry.
No, agreed. I agree with Matt. Go ahead, Veronica.
I just can't find the hand raising thing in Zoom. I'm used to Google, so sorry about that.
Ask Teresa. She's playing with it. She can help you.
I just wanted to make it, I appreciate Pat's gesture as well. It does dishearten me a little that we have community members that I'm fine with people asking questions, but the appreciation that we were trying to show staff, all staff, every staff that works in our district, that's what we were trying to do. If people would look outside of MSAD11, there were many, many school districts that gave more money to their staff. So it just goes to show that we wanted to appreciate our staff for the hard work they're doing for our students, because our job is to do what's best for our students. And if we're not appreciating the staff that are there day in and day out, we're going to lose good staff. So again, I was just really disheartened that we had people that are really, like, it feels like to me nitpicking on the little things that we're doing instead of looking at the whole picture of how we're really working hard to meet the needs of our children during this difficult time.
Thank you, Veronica. Matt?
I just wanted to add one more thing. It was very clear in our executive session who these cards were going to, and I mean, if you look at it, it doesn't it doesn't take a lot of common sense to understand that if we're going to give $250 to all of our employees, right, that it's going to cost money. It's not going to be $10,000. It's going to be expensive. And we made the decision to support that based on Pat's recommendation and Angela's not Angela, but Andrea's recommendation. And so we did. And I think it was just very clear to me what we were doing. So I didn't think there was really any wiggle room to think that anybody could be confused.
Anyone else want to chime in before we move on? Yes, Tony.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, Tony, thanks. Yeah, just to echo Matt and Veronica, and certainly thank you to Pat for providing, direction on this. It's something we reached as a team, as a negotiating team, that decision, and it made a lot of sense. A lot of it was driven by, we had this opportunity to do it, and Andrea was really clear it was available for staff. It really fit in our budget, and it was a great chance to give back to the teachers and all the staff that have been working so hard to support the students for years. And I was really excited. I think we're, really looking positively at this as a team, that we did have this opportunity to recognize people, especially before the holidays, but also just as like hey, your work is not nothing. We see it's been extra, and we are going to give as much as we had, reasonably available even. I mean, yeah. And so tying that in with the other piece, the early release day, just seemed like a nice way to, again, recognize the work and, have people have a little bit nicer vacation, I think is what we were looking for the, again, in recognition of the amount of work the staff have been putting in, everybody covering everybody's, everybody. So I just want to say, my understanding was that we were looking at all employees in the district. And I think I get that it's real money. It's also a portion of our overall budget, a relatively small portion, I think. I would leave that to, and it just fit with what we have. And I really stand by the decision to give that to staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Jim.
Yeah. The vitriol that was directed towards the office and the staff was out of line completely. I may be politically incorrect, but what was directed there should never have happened. It was personal attacks. If anybody can disagree with what we do or what the staff does, but at least do it in a manner that is respectful and does not demean anyone. We don't need to be calling names. We don't need to be having attacks on individuals. And I don't like it. And you know my name. If you want to talk to me personally, come tell me. I don't think you need to do it in a way you're doing it now. And this is directed at the general public. It is not directed at our board or our staff or anybody with MSAD11. So I'm sorry, but it really ticks me off when I read that. And I know Pat had to deal with a whole lot more than what we had to deal with. So I'm sorry that it get a little out of hand, but that's ridiculous. So thank you.
Jim, thank you. Well said. I appreciate that. Diane.
I won't take a lot of time because so many, Jim and Tony and Matt and everyone has said it so well, but I had just come back on the board and I have been so proud to be part of recognizing our staff in this way in a very difficult time in our all school districts' histories. So that's how I feel about it.
Thank you, Diane. Anyone else before we continue on? I really do appreciate the support. And Pat, I tell you all the time, you're doing such a great job. Stop being so hard on yourself. You're doing the best you can. And all we wanted to do, honestly, and I'll say very publicly, there's really no palpable way to say thank you. And this felt like a very tiny, palpable way to say thank you to you, our board members. And there are some of you who have tirelessly served on committees, not everyone, but many of you, most of you have served tirelessly on committees, come to every meeting, come to extra meetings, served on the scaffolding committee, met and met and met and met. And it just felt like this was one way, a palpable way that we can say thank you. And it was never intended to be, it was never intended to turn into what it has turned into, which has been a giant time sucker and made our superintendent feel ashamed and sad. And that's not right. It's not who she is. She works very, very hard for this district. And I have the opportunity to work with a lot of school boards and districts and superintendents, and we do a nice job. We're a very transparent district, and we have very, very strong and good leadership and administrators and staff. We just wanted to say thank you. So I really hope, Pat, that you can let this go, not let it possess your days. And I would ask the board for a thumbs up. Is this something that we want? If these emails continue and continue, is this what we want the superintendent to be spending her time doing? Answering these emails or not answering these emails? So a thumbs up if you wanted to continue, or a thumbs down if you wish we could just move along.
I just have a question. Can we just ignore the emails? I mean, is that something you can do?
Legally, yes, we can. We are not
Okay.
obligated in any way to answer any emails, but we have answered the question.
Yeah,
And-
I didn't
and
know they were
much-
continuing. I didn't know,
much of-
Pat, I'm sorry, Pat, I didn't know they were continuing and you were still dealing with it.
It has consumed an enormous amount of time. And I suggested today to Pat, put it all on our website, all the legislative bulletins. You guys get them all the time. I hope you read every single one of them, because that is part of our responsibility. Put them all on our website. So when people have these questions about how we're breaking the law, look on our website. We follow the rules. We follow guidance. We're required to do that. So Pat, I think you've been given permission to stop now. So we have a motion and a second to vote on the MOU. I will call the roll. Becky Fless, yay. Veronica Babcock,
Yay.
Teresa Garrett,
And this is to continue into next year, next Christmas, the same thing.
no.
We're just voting on the MOU that goes until June 30th.
Yay.
Matthew Lillybridge,
Yay.
and hi and welcome. It's nice to see you.
Thanks. Sorry I'm late. Long
It's
day at
okay.
work.
Absolutely. You told me you were going to be that way, so that's just fine. It's just nice to see you. Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Nicole Medor,
Yay.
Matthew Marshall,
Yay.
Chris McGlellan,
Yay.
Ian Shpittaroff,
Yay.
Diane Potter,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
Tony Veet,
Yay.
Sophie,
Yay.
and Gwen.
Yay.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. The presentation of the student winter assessment data. Angela?
Just getting it loaded. 1 second. Okay. Move you here. So every year in the fall, winter, and spring, we conduct assessments, math and literacy assessments with all of our student body to in the fall to check and understand their levels of proficiency upon coming in the winter to check for both proficiency and growth over time, and then the spring for the same purpose. And then we look year over year with that data in the fall and the spring. The winter is more like a temperature check. It's like checking in, like, are we making the same progress we made in the same period of time in the years past, where we know that information. I will also add, because of the years that we're in, we did temporarily suspend winter assessment data one of the COVID winters, so it must have been last year. And so some of our data is a little bit disrupted. So this is a small snapshot. And then the other piece I will say is because of the surge of absences in January, which is when we run our winter assessments, student absences and staff absences, some of our opportunities to assess students shifted. And as a result, I don't have a complete picture. The middle school is a bigger school and conducted theirs a little bit later. I was able to capture some of theirs. I was waiting for the math. As of today, we have enough data, but it was late afternoon when I was able to check that there was enough data, and it just wasn't enough time to crunch all the numbers and get that to you. But I will certainly be following up with the curriculum committee, and therefore you'll see that over time. So this is what we have. And at the high school level, because of their semester-based schedule and the final exam schedule, it is a fall and winter. I mean, sorry, a fall and spring, not a fall, winter, and spring. It doesn't make sense with finals and midterms to also add a whole assessment window. There we go. So just so you know what we use, we in kindergarten through 5th grade for math, we use something called the iReady Math Diagnostic. We discussed this at the beginning or mid-fall when we brought our fall assessment data through. In ELA, we use the NWEA MAP Growth Assessment for kindergarten through 5th grade under reading. In grades 3 through 5 this year, we're trying language usage. So I'm not reporting out on that yet because it feels like it's too early for us to really have that data be something that makes significant decisions. We're just learning how to use that assessment. And then early bird literacy screener in K1, and we'll go through that. And at the middle school, we're using the NWEA MAP growth assessment. And that's been a consistent tool for many years, over a decade. And it's now part of our state assessment. So it's the same tool for our local and our state in the fall and then in the spring. For literacy, kind of just giving you a bird's eye view first. We are in our 2nd year of this pandemic, and we physically closed schools for 3 months in the 1920 school year. We went hybrid for most of the 2021 school year, and now we're back to 5 days a week. And there is a lot that we're learning about what happens when students come to school 2 days a week and then try to work remotely other days or not, depending on their age. And so generally speaking, from fall to winter, overall, our reading proficiency scores are lower than they have been historically in winters, pre-pandemic. It doesn't mean that we're not making growth, so we'll look at that a little bit. And then our foundational skills, those, we're going to talk about that too. Those are foundational reading skills, what we need to be proficient in order to move through any really complex reading and written analysis and comparison. So those are low. And if you think about it, first and kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd graders are really working on those foundational reading skills, and they were in our buildings 2 days a week and with a very disrupted schedule. And while we had best intentions and worked really hard, the routine and the consistency in experiences related to foundational skills just wasn't present. However, our vocabulary acquisition skills are up, and I want to talk about why that might be. So this is just I will not go into this in detail, but it's a brief orientation to what we call Scarborough's rope, which is connecting early language and literacy to later reading. It's based on the science of reading and has a really strong research and evidence-based background. But this is a visual representation of what that all means, kind of put together in a quick image. So when learning to read, and this is not just learning in kindergarten and first grade. This is like when learning to read at any developmental stage. So this can include middle schoolers and high schoolers at different stages of reading. All of these components of literacy need to actually weave together for someone to be fluent and to understand what they're reading. So there's a language comprehension side. That's the blue colored area, which students have to have background knowledge. So they need experiences, they need to see things, do things, hear things that are kind of beyond their normal everyday repertoire. Develop vocabulary knowledge, so be able to name a broad array of objects and experiences and places. A language structure, so how does language organize? Verbal reasoning, so that's like a lot of the listening comprehension. And listening comprehension comes before reading comprehension. And then literacy knowledge. So those elements all have to work. And then we have the word recognition piece, the phonics, the phonological awareness, being able to break apart words and put them together under decoding and spelling, and sight recognition. I have to be able to see it and then have that work through a conceptual framework in my mind and make sense of it. So there's all these components our kids are learning, and a lot of this was disrupted. We were teaching it, we were working through it, but what we've learned is that it's a lot of practice, a lot of exposure that's necessary, a lot of oral language, speaking and listening that needs to happen between people, young people with teachers or parents or friends and family, and kind of allowing them to move through that conversation and make meaning of it, and being really intentional and strategic about developing that language. So historically, vocabulary hasn't actually been a real strong piece of evidence for us in any of our ongoing assessment data. And this year, we're starting to see growth in vocabulary out of all years. So that's really surprising and very exciting. And there's a couple of things we can think about that. Is that just because they're exposed, our students are having opportunities both at home and at school now, and in their other daily activities that are starting up more. So that may be some of it. If we're looking from a school-based lens, what has changed? The district has committed and invested in a whole new suite of literacy resources, K-8, that we've never had before, ever, in a consistent way, equitably across the whole district. And the materials we chose, actually one of the significant elements is to develop vocabulary in students, but not in a kind of skill and drill way, but in a way in which we go through rich text and we draw out the vocabulary and think it through and manipulate those words and truly understand what they are. And that's why at the last board meeting or another board meeting, when I shared a data presentation, a teacher had said, like, one of my students understands accuse, and then they figured out accuser and accused. And then another one was about gifts. And so they're applying these complex, for their age level, language structures and words to other situations, to the recess area. And that's really exciting. And the programs are built around strong listening comprehension skills, because by building that foundation, we can then move into those reading skills. So we don't know for sure that these programs are supporting that, or that the teachers incredibly hard work at understanding this new material and making it work for each individual teacher in their learning community. But we will be watching the data over time to understand that. And I just wanted to give you kind of a visual representation of how all these pieces in literacy have to work together in order for any one of us to be kind of fluent fluent in reading and understand what we're reading. So a snapshot, which is not as much fun, I will tell you, is we use the NWEA, and we do actually use it K through 8. But in winter, It's the first time the kindergarten students are using it in the year. And historically, I don't have all the data into first grade in a way that I could easily represent. So I'm starting in grades 2 and moving through grade 8. And we look at that this past fall, we have grade 2 data in the blue, and then our current winter data. So as you can see, the winter data is below our fall proficiency data. So students who are meeting or exceeding. So that's a little bit disappointing. Grade 5 is awfully close. However, there's a couple ways to look at it. One, we are working very hard at closing the gaps that were produced from the disrupted learning. And so we anticipated that sometimes we reduce before we can increase, right? Because we have to slow way down and really learn deeply, and then we can accelerate the learning process sort of in that catch-up mode. So there's going to be a little bit of that, and it's actually going to last a couple of years. We don't anticipate we're going to be able to kind of accelerate in a very short period of time. It's not good for learners. The other thing is when taking these assessments, in the fall, there's a set of expectations. So we have grade level standards, and the grade level standards are what would they expect of learners by the end of the year. And then these assessment companies organize that by like what should be expected by the fall, winter, and spring, sort of in a developmental continuum. And so while we are lower than we came out in the fall, remember the target shifted a little. So the target shifting, we're not that much lower. So we are actually making growth. It's just taking us longer than a normal typical year. So there is a little hope here. I'm super curious to see what happens. This is really only between about 3 months of learning. Our next assessment window will be late May. So that will be about 5 months of additional learning. So I'll be curious to see how we do. We're certainly going to be working hard for it. So NUIA also breaks it down depending on grade level into subscores. So we know more than just overall reading. We can actually understand what elements. So in K1 and 2, our most significant areas of challenge are foundational skills, and foundational skills are broken up into many components. I'll talk about that shortly. Within foundational skills, so foundational skills, reading, and then there's like craft and structure and language for older students, and vocabulary for everyone. So there's a sub-test just on vocabulary, which I said before is an area of challenge for us, even more so than this data suggests. So our winter scores, you can see what we want is the green and blue. So together, green and blue together, that's meeting and exceeding. These are our rates. And if you work backwards, we're over 25% of our student population. And in our kindergarten, we're getting close to 50% of our student population scoring well in vocabulary. And these are the students that it's their first time exposed to school, formal 5-day-a-week school. And they're there unless they've had illness, they've been there 5 days a week. This is incredible. This is an incredible result. Getting close to 50% at the just less than halfway mark of the school year. That is really exciting. We can continue to grow this and help the students who are in the red and yellow bands. In our other grade levels, our first grade is a grade we're a little bit more concerned about, kind of across the board, because kindergarten is so valuable to a learner. And again, they just had a different experience. So in first grade, we're doing a lot of kindergarten work to lay that foundation to then accelerate into the first grade material. It's just part of the process. But as you can see in our older learners, we are making headway, and I anticipate that red to push down by the time we get to June. But one thing I want to make note of is this is only one assessment data point, and it's an online test that kids are taking. We use another one we call Early Bird that we've been using in kindergarten for a couple of years and starting to use it in first grade. And we're going to pilot it in some of our pre-K students with some of our pre-K students. And it's a game-based app, like less than 1 minute games, and there's about 13 games. And it's broken down into what I was calling the foundational skills. And so it gives us a much deeper picture. And one of the foundational skills is vocabulary. So it was a great opportunity for us to say, okay, the kindergartners are taking Early Bird Literacy Screener. They love it. It's game-based. It's fun. It's joyful. And then they're taking this NUIA assessment. Are we close? Are the scores related? And there's all kinds of other questions we can ask after that. And the result is, if you go back here, you see the green almost hits the 50% mark. And when we look at the Early Bird vocabulary results, 50% of our students are meeting or exceeding across the vocabulary game or subtest. A quarter are partially meeting and a quarter are not meeting. So those 2 points of data match. So from someone in my position, that's very exciting. The 2 points of data match, that can help us think of like, what's the best tool to use with these students in the long run, and how many, maybe we don't need to do both. And that's great. We have to know these things before we can kind of jump and make those decisions. But it is also great that 50% of our students are meeting this level, kindergarten level of vocabulary. Imagine the foundation we're laying for their future years. And if we can grow that with them, we can grow that with all learners as they build their foundational skills. So that's also very exciting. And then in the same Early Bird assessment, as I said, it's 13 different categories or games, and kids know them as games. Each one is a game. And I drew out 3. These are 3 I drew out in the fall for you. And so I thought maybe it would give you a minute to compare. This is across our kindergarten, across all the 3 schools that have kindergarten. Remember, we want green. We want red to shrink. So you have to go from red to yellow to green. You don't usually jump over time. So if you look, we were in the sounds, we were at 50% who still needed to really gain access to their letter sounds. And now we're well below 25%. So that is really exciting. Our students proficient in their sounds are almost at 50%. And then we have a wide range of students in that yellow band. There's actually, when I looked at the numbers, there's like 4 students that are 1 point away from being green, which means they're probably very close. And the teachers, well, this is a survey, a quick scan. The teachers are working to understand which sounds are those, and then supporting those particular sound skills. With letter names, so the letter names of the alphabet, right? In the fall, we were at over 50% of students who were really struggling with those. And now we're under 50%. So it is growth, and we're proud of that. The way we approach phonics instruction, we actually start with sounds before we start with names. So that's normal. And they'll pick up a lot of those names in January and February and continue to make progress moving forward. Some districts will choose a phonics program that starts with names and then moves into sounds. Our phonics program flips it so that they can really manipulate those sounds in lots of different ways. And then in rhyming, which is hopefully you all have had experience with rhyming over time, cat and hat and dirt and shirt and those sorts of things. That's what we're checking here. It's such a foundational skill for our students. And you can see in the fall, we had 50% of students in the does not meet partially meets. And while we still have more of that in the category, you can see the major shift between red and yellow. And that is phenomenal. So we are making progress. Well, we dropped a little bit in the green. That's just students working to become secure. So they know it, but maybe not every single time. And so I still find that very promising. Oops. And then what are our next steps when it comes to literacy? lots of them, but our staff have been and will continue to use the data that comes out of these assessments from their classroom to inform their instructional practice. We will introduce or continue with strategic supports or interventions to support students in the classroom, or sometimes with additional support staff. We'll continue with small group focused instruction so that students are getting their needs met based on where they're at, and then move them forward, as well as large group instruction that hones in on listening, comprehension, and vocabulary. And then just continuing to help our learners know that learning takes work, and sometimes work is hard, but every one of us can do it. And how can we build this kind of I can or growth mindset in our learners? And sometimes it just means giving them one more strategy to try, and then they see that they can do it, and that gets them excited, and then they keep going. And as always, I add a little note. The other things we can do is encourage reading at home at any level, not just our littles, but all of our students, our middle school students, our high school students, reading for fun, reading, a sports journal or magazine or a book, any piece, anything that's has a storyline of some sort, fiction or nonfiction, would be great. Reading out loud to a child, reading together, taking turns reading, or having quiet time for reading. And then playing word games. If I say cat and take away ka and put in ba, what does it make? That. So just playing around with words is not really a wrong way to do that. Rhyming with kids, naming, naming letters, naming sounds, practicing them together. In math, our foundational numeracy skills are continuing to be developed. Not surprising, that matches the same story with literacy. However, we are really excited to say that our consistent growth, we have had consistent growth or above average growth compared to other years, and that is surprising and very exciting. We used a tool called iReady in K-5, and I went back and looked at our winter data across 3 years, 2020, which was pre-pandemic winter by a couple months, 2021, which was during our hybrid learning period, and 2022, which is this month or last month. And as you can see, we are growing. Typical growth on average from fall to winter, we are growing now to 50%, 52% typical growth, hitting at least typical growth, students making typical growth gains or exceeding them. That is great news. We're on the right trajectory. We're going in the right direction. And this is our second full year with the new math materials, and we know it takes a little while to kind of get oriented to those. So this is pretty exciting. We also have another way to look at this. There's 5 areas in which our students can fall along ranges to help us understand what that actually means behind the scenes on their skill set. And you can see here, sorry, I'm having a hard time moving you. There you go. Well, you can see here that green is what we're looking to achieve. We went from 12% in green in the fall to 29%. And over here in red, we went from 27% down to 13% in just a few months. So that is, we're again making progress. We're pleased with that. Hang on, I'm supposed to be able to. Yes. And then this is the same data from 2 winters ago, so pre-pandemic. And you can see that our growth model is, our proficiency model for math this winter is actually fairly similar. So pre-pandemic to this year, still kind of in the middle of the pandemic. And so that's great news too. Our math is not as disrupted as our literacy was. Hang with me, there we go. Another way to look at this data is it helps us understand the percent of students with improved placements. So that means they move from one of those colors to a better color. So if they move from the 3 or more grade levels below, they moved into 2 grade levels below. If they went from 2, they moved to 1 or better. Okay. So this winter, 33% of the students who were on early on grade level have improved to grade level or higher. 30% of the students who are 1 grade level below improved to grade level. And you see how this is going. Look down here, 58% of our students who are 3 or more grade levels below have moved up at least to 2 grade levels below, maybe 1 grade level below. So they're increasing, moving up. That is fantastic. You want this model to show that the students that are the most significantly behind in their skills are making the most gains, and that we're not, that our other students are still continuing to make gains. Our average rate of gain used to be 32%. So every student is moving forward, in other words, and some significantly so. So our next steps, I wrote finished assessments and then double checked that the data came in. So finish analyzing the assessments, use the data to inform instruction and intervention, continue to use materials, what we call manipulatives, to support that concrete math understanding, continue to hold math talks where math thinking is visible to all, because as I said, listening comprehension happens before reading comprehension. So listening and learning collectively together and visualizing will help us sometimes before just trying to do the math ourselves. So we hear other people's way of getting or attacking a math problem. And then of course at home, play dice games, play number games. There's a new, if any of you love Wordle, the new hot game, free game, Wordle, they now have a math version called Nerdle. I don't know, it's probably made by a different person, but if you type in Nerdle and you like to manipulate equations, that's the game for you. It's so fun. And then again, that whole let's build a positive I can approach. Our staff will work at Moving Mountains to help kids find a positive and joyful experience in learning math. And in partnership, we can get there. Oops, sorry, that was from the fall. I forgot to take it out. And then just a reminder, the things we're doing, K-8 ELA programs, math programs, social studies programs are all new. The teachers are learning them. It takes a long time to learn new material, and yet they're still making gains. So we're very proud of them. As Matt Marshall said, we have significant coaching support in our systems, which are partners to help our students grow, continued professional learning, expanding the early bird literacy screener because it seems to tell us more and it's joyful for learners, and then adding in intervention blocks into our schedule, which gives us just a more structured and focused time to help on some of these skills that we're a little bit behind on. Okay, that was a lot. I'm going to stop sharing in case there's any questions.
I just want to say I had asked Pat Angeli maybe yesterday or the day before about iReady because there was an article in the Washington Post about how student achievement has really suffered, and they were using iReady data saying that the article actually said that it did not agree with what you just presented. So thank you for presenting this. This looks really good. It's so nice to see a positive perspective put on what our kids have been through. I personally believe that learning, every day that a child's eyes are open, they're learning something. So learning loss is a matter of perspective. And I think our kids have learned a ton during this pandemic. And I think you guys, our staff is doing such a great job bringing them right back to where they need to be, capturing their attention. And I think that the data shows it. So thank you. Matt.
Thank you, Angela. This is this isn't a perfect example of what happens, the positive side of our kids being in school 5 days a week. I wonder what the data would have told us if they weren't, right? So I thank all of my colleagues on the board for understanding how important it is to keep them in school, keep them in seats. We've made some tough decisions over the last year, especially, but and Angela, you do a remarkable job briefing data. I couldn't do it. You're great at it. So thank you very much for everything that you're doing. Great news, really is.
I just always like to say that it's the teachers doing the hard work and the students putting on their thinking caps every day. And that the principals see it on a daily basis differently than I do, although I've been in classrooms every single day for many weeks now. They're trying lots of different ways to help learners and help them feel good about themselves. And they're really tired. But I think they're going to be so proud of themselves by the end of the year. The learners are, and the teachers are, because they are. I can't say it enough. They are moving mountains to make learning be joyful and feel productive. And I don't just mean at the elementary levels. I mean at all levels. I know that all of our high school teachers, even though I didn't get to share data today, I mean, they're building relationships with students. They're trying to reconnect with them. They're trying to think about pathways for them to be successful. Our administrators too. So that's my little soapbox to make sure that that's really clear.
Thank you, Angela. Tony, and then Veronica, I saw your hand.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Angela, thank you, so much for your presentation. Echoing Matt's appreciation for your ability to share data and go over charts in a way that's really accessible. And so I can see exactly all the data points we're looking at. And I appreciate we can see the positives and where we're looking to shift the to the green and blue or whichever the color version we're using. And that you're able to capture those data points and see that it is moving. There's so many data points. Oh my word! I really appreciated the braid, Scarborough's rope that you showed us. That was that just wrecked my mind a little bit, and I learned something. I think, and I have seen some of this data, I think, in curriculum, and I really appreciate it there. And it was just as a general review, it was so nice to be able to see the work of the district. And I know the teachers are doing the face-to-face with the students. This is the core of our work, and it's really nice to see that and to have a rich presentation, rich discussion about it. And I guess the other thing is that yes, that we are capturing almost in real time the data of what it means to have been remote, been hybrid, been 5 days a week. I mean, we're seeing an arc here, and I will know more in the future, but I really feel this is it's fresh but well described. So I really appreciate it, and thank you for your presentation.
Great, thanks, Tony. Veronica?
Yeah, I just want to echo both what Tony and Matt said. It's exciting. I'm not a data girl. I don't love it. But I don't love the delving in like you do, Angela. But I love as an educator to see the work that's being put in by the staff, by the coaches, by the children. I mean, it shows that the hard decisions we've made as a board to keep kids in school is paying off. Kids are excited to be at school. They're learning. The teachers, even though it's exhausting at times, they're utilizing the coaches that we put into place. They're utilizing this new curriculum that I know I heard from people overwhelming at the beginning of the year, like, oh my gosh, we have to learn this and wear masks and. So it's really exciting to see this data and to really celebrate what our kids are doing, because our staff is working so hard to make sure that they're achieving. So again, thank you for presenting it. And again, thank you just to everybody working so hard to make sure our kids are getting the education they deserve.
Great, thank you. And yes, the rope. Angela, that rope is so cool. It reminded me of the DNA helix.
Yeah,
All the
I
great
love
colors.
that. Thank you all. I appreciate your attention to this work and the support that you're offering the district. Thanks.
Oh, it's just so great and that we're able to move kids along, and hopefully this will just be a blip in our path. So I'm really excited for our kiddos. We'll move along then if there are no more questions. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Becky. Yes, I have a number of items that I want to talk about. First of all, impact of COVID on the operations of the schools. There are just some things that I really want to make sure that the board is aware of. In this past month has been especially difficult with the rise of very significant numbers of positive cases in our district. And in January, there was a day when we had 69 staff members, or roughly 20% of our staff were absent. One day at the middle school, we had 22 staff members absent. On any given day, it's really not uncommon for there to be 10 staff positions that are unfilled. We're unable to hire a sub, whether that's a teaching position, an ed tech position, which are the two primary ones. As we see other school districts around the state that are in the same situation, and we're seeing them shift to remote instruction, MSAD11 has remained open. Our doors have remained open to students thanks to our staff. And it's teachers who are voluntarily giving up their prep time, their PLC time to work with their colleagues, which means that they're working at full capacity. If you've been in a building and teaching and you understand, you have a group of students and then you move to another group of students and you move to another group of students. There is no time for a break. Sometimes there's no time for a bathroom break. And they're literally going from place to place to place, to room, without having any opportunity for themselves for a moment. And so then that means all of their work has to be done after school, at night with families, on weekends, when they're already tired. It's now taking away from family time. Our ed techs, our other support staff are also offering all that they can do to provide coverage for absent teachers, administrators. They're in classrooms. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but we have administrators who are also in classrooms serving as substitutes. And they're all doing it so that we can keep our doors open. So I want you to be aware of what's happening behind the scenes. There were probably, I'm going to say 3 or 4 times during the month of January when administrators reached out to me and said, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know if we can keep the doors open. We're just so short-staffed. If one more person goes down, I'm not going to make it. And it was their creativity, and it was the rest of the staff who stepped up and said, we'll make this work, because students need to be in school. So I wanted you to be aware of that. I think it's really important. And again, it's another way of sending kudos to our staff and letting them know just how valuable and appreciative we are for all that they're doing for our students. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Let's see. I wanted to make sure that you're aware that we're currently working on the 2022-2023 school year calendar. A draft has been created. It's right now in the hands of our various associations. Administrators are taking a second look at some of the early release days that we have budgeted to make sure that they're most effective for our staff. And this will be presented to all of you at the March board meeting. Okay, so I just want you to know that that's in the works. Vacation. I thought you should know that I am going to take a vacation. First one in 4 years where I've been able to disconnect. It's hard to believe, but I will be away February 19th through the 27th. That is vacation week. I will not be on email. I will not have my phone attached to me. And Angela will be filling in during my absence, okay? Special ed recognition. Just something I wanted to bring to your attention. A few months ago, there was a complaint that was filed with the Department of Education alleging a violation of the Maine Unified Special Education Regulations and saying that that had occurred in our district. As is always done when a complaint is made, a complaint investigator is appointed to investigate the alleged violation. And the person that was hired to conduct the investigation in our district is one that I've heard of for years. He's been around for a long time and he goes around the state, and this is a major part of his job. This is what he does. And so when the investigation was complete, no violation by the district was found, and there was no corrective action that needed to occur. But the attorney from Drummond and Woodsum that we used and assisted our special ed administrator sent a follow-up email to Alicia, to me, stating that the report that we received from that investigator was a ringing endorsement of how the situation was handled by our special ed administration and by our staff, and just from the get-go and how they handled it. And the person said that they have never seen such a categorically positive report from that investigator. So special ed is hard and they take a lot of hits. I see Veronica, right? Take a lot of hits and a lot of criticism. And they have some difficult decisions to make that just doesn't make people happy. And so I just wanted you to be aware and just send kudos and congratulations to our special ed staff, administration for doing a great job and for receiving such positive accolades from an individual who gets to see what happens around the state. So congratulations to both Sarah and Alicia for that. So I just wanted you to be aware. Opioid litigation update. This may be new to some of you, but back in July of 2020, the school board, you guys signed on to a national opioid Class A action lawsuit along with 33 other school districts in the state of Maine. And it was, like I said, it was a national action lawsuit. Recently, there has been a tentative agreement that has been reached between J&J, Johnson & Johnson, and some distributors in state and local governments from around the country. Maine has the potential to receive several millions of dollars in base payments over a period of several years. Maine plans to use the portion of the money it receives to establish a recovery fund to provide money designated to mitigate the effects of the opioid use. Drummond and Woodsum has been working with National Council to negotiate an agreement with the state whereby some of the money in the recovery fund would be earmarked for schools. It appears that an agreement has been reached and that Maine schools will have 1.5% of the overall settlement money coming to Maine, which is approximately $2.5 million, and it will be earmarked for grants for special education purposes, okay? And so Maine is the first state in the nation that has earmarked funds from this settlement to go specifically for schools. The MOU that's being developed specifically provides that the earmarked monies are to supplement, not supplant, other payments that would flow to schools from recovery fund and to be used to extend and or expand existing services or to provide new services above and beyond the services we already provide. And then the school districts who participated in this litigation will be given a voice in how the earmarked funds will be spent. So they will be looking to us as well as the other 33 school districts in the state of Maine. But they provided some examples, and I just thought I would share that with you. Grants for direct services, which includes hiring special education teachers, behavior specialists, counselors, social workers, reading coaches, occupational, mental health, and physical therapists. Keeping in mind, 2.5 million is not going to go that far. And this would not be a long-term funding. It would just be a very short-term funding. There's also grants for multidisciplinary programs, such as partnerships between schools and medical or social services providers, or grants to develop models with system-wide applicability for how to train and develop staff to provide special education or multidisciplinary services to abate the ravages of the opioid epidemic in schools. So this is awesome. So it was kudos to all of you to signing on to this class action, and I will keep you posted, but it does appear that sometime in the near future, there will be some funding coming our way to support our school district in addressing the opioid issue. So the last thing I wanted to share with you, snow days. So tomorrow is going to be a snow day, and that is day number 3. So to have 3 days prior to February vacation potentially is a lot. Now, who knows? You know, we could see the weather turn around and we could potentially have no snow days in March, but that's probably unlikely. So I just wanted to remind all of you, and I wanted to remind anyone who's watching, that what we agreed to is that we will treat 5 days as snow days. After day 5, they will be remote instruction days. By doing that, our seniors remain in compliance with the law that they have to be in school 170 days before graduation, right? So we want to make sure that we remain in compliance. So if we don't turn the 6th day and any subsequent days into a remote day, we'd be looking at having to either change graduation date, which I'm certain no one wants to do, or we would have to find ways of those seniors making up days so that we could continue with graduation on the set date. So I just wanted to put that out there. Administrators and I discussed it today so that staff and administrators can begin thinking about how we are going to treat those remote days, what they will look like. And that is all for my report.
Thank you, Pat. That was July of 2020, that opioid money?
Yes. That you signed on to.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. I'm
feels like
actually
just
surprised.
yesterday.
I was going to say, I'm actually surprised at how quickly that they settled that class action suit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Amazing.
Yeah. But that's
Wow.
when I signed it. Mhm.
Wow. Well, there you go. Thank you. Any questions or comments for the superintendent? Seeing none, then our meeting, this portion of our meeting is concluded, and we will now take a moment. Do we need to take a comfort break or anything, or can we just keep going into executive session? Seeing no requests, we'll just go. So administrative staff, thank you so much. Travel safely to your slippers and wherever it is that you go from here. And thank you for participating tonight. Angela, special thanks for all that great information. And Terry, thank you for being where you are. And we'll see you in a little bit.
And Terry, we're not going to come out of any executive session with a motion. All right. So there'll be no vote. And
No,
Terry,
you're right.
Terry's going to put us in a workroom, because even though there's not going to be a motion when we come out, we have to go into one executive session, come back out, and there needs to be a vote to go back into a second executive session.
Do Sophie and I go in there with you guys or not?
No, the students are not allowed in executive session with us.
Okay, I'm going to send you guys in there in 2 seconds.
First, we'll hold it. First, there has to be a motion for us to go in before you put us in there.
I make a motion to go into executive session.
Second. This is Tony.
To discuss negotiations and the ed tech contract.
Then we need to, I got that, Tony, thank you. We need a roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Becky Fleck, yay. Veronica Babcock.
Yay.
Teresa Gret.
Yay.
Matthew Lillybridge, Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Nicole Medore,
Yay.
Matthew Marshall,
Yay.
Chris McLaughlin,
Yay.
Ange Pitterock,
Yay.
Diane Potter, she's missing, Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
and Tony Beat.
Yay.
Great. I don't know if Matt Lillybridge will be back. He messaged me that his internet had crashed at his house, so we'll just move along, pretending he's here. So, again, thank you, administrators, and we'll see you soon.
Terry, can you see where Diane is?
I don't think Diane knew what to do, Pat.
Okay, Terry can help her. Thank you,
Okay.
Teresa.
You're welcome.
She can help her leave. Yeah.
Diane will be back in a couple seconds.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Awesome. Okay, so Becky, we need a motion to go into an executive session to discuss the contract with Harris Sports.
So moved. It's Tony.
Second.
That was Jim. Tony, Becky, you're muted.
There we go. All right. Becky Celeste, yay. Veronica,
Yay.
Teresa,
Yay.
Matt Lilliebridge is missing. Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Nicole,
Yay.
Matt,
Yay.
Chris,
Yay.
Ange,
Yay.
Diane,
I'm sorry, I was disconnected for a bit and I didn't hear it all. So I'll not vote.
We're just voting to
Oh,
go
no.
into executive session.
Oh, to
that's
go
all.
into session. Okay, okay.
yes, yes,
Yes, yay,
Yep.
yay, yay.
yay, yay, yay. Okay. Let's see, Alyssa
Yay.
and Tony.
Yay.
Okay. And we're in.
Hi, Terry. We are back. Is that everyone?
I'm sorry, am I here? Because I don't see anybody but me.
We see you.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
So with that, Becky, do you want to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, I do. Thank you all. This was a longish meeting. Sorry about that. I think we do better when we're in the room. It's the roll call. It takes time. But anyway, thank you all so much. We'll see you on the other side.
All right.
Everybody
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.
Bye. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, be safe in the snow.
Wear your grippers.
Where you're
No falling down. Wear your grippers.
Good night.
Good night. Terry, wear your grippers.